Hi guys, tonight we open our eyes not to the world around us, but to a world long vanished yet somehow still echoing beneath the surface of every stone we walk upon. Imagine, it's the year 80 AD, Rome is alive, the empire is at its peak, and right in the heart of this thundering metropolis stands a monument of unimaginable scale, the Colosseum, towering, echoing, dripping in blood and glory. But this story, it isn't about the gladiators, not really. Tonight, we explore something even more intimate, what it truly meant to be there, to sit in the marble seats, the sun on your face, your tunic clinging with sweat, your hands trembling as lions were loosed upon men, and cheers roared like thunder. This isn't a history lesson. This is your seat in the arena. You will smell the blood. You will feel the heat of the crowd. You will taste the wine and the fear. So, tell me, where in the world are you listening to this story from? Let me know in the comments below. Because tonight's story is very special. It's long, it's dark, it's breathtaking. So close your eyes, leave your day behind, switch off the lights, forget about the world, and let's begin. Your journey begins. You wake up to the sound of hooves clapping on the stone-paved street. Your chamber is simple lime-washed walls, a woven mat for sleeping, and a clay jug of wine still half full from the night before. The early Roman sun pushes through the wooden shutter slats, casting golden beams on the tiled floor. Rome is waking up, and so are you. You are not a senator. You are not a slave. You are something in between, a Roman citizen, respected but still ordinary. And today, you have something very special, a ticket to the Colosseum. Not everyone gets one, not with seats this close. You earned it through your work for a local magistrate, copying scrolls, translating Greek, managing records. But all of that seems small today, because today you will witness the games. You wash your face in the ceramic basin. Cold water shocks your nerves awake. You tighten your belt around your tunic, strap on your sandals, and step out into the waking world of Rome. The streets are already buzzing. The air smells of roasting bread, olive oil, and the faint hint of iron knot from swords. But from the blacksmiths pounding away just beyond the forum, you pass a statue of Jupiter, towering above a marble fountain where children splash water and older men toss coins for luck. You toss one too, quietly. You whisper a wish into the marble god's ear. Let it be a good fight today. The first glimpse of the Colosseum as you reach the Velian Hill, your breath catches. There it stands, the Flavian Amphitheater, what they call the Colosseum. It is colossal, yes, but the word doesn't do it justice. It is otherworldly. It rises like a giant ring of stone, with arches stacked upon arches and statues wedged between the columns. Its walls gleam pale gold in the morning sun. Even the birds circle higher above it, reluctant to fly too near as if they, too, know what happens within. The line to enter is long but orderly. Soldiers' men in bronze breastplates and red tunics stand, watch near the gates, their gladius swords shimmer at their sides. You clutch your wooden ticket carved with a number and symbol. 3 Luna -45. That's your seat. Tier 3, Moon Section, Seat 45. You slide it into a clay slot. A Roman official, grumpy from the early hour, checks it and waves you through. You enter, and the world changes. Inside the beast, the noise hits first, a rolling thunder of voices, the shuffling of sandals, the roar of hawkers selling honeyed nuts, wine, and sweet dates. But under it all, there is something deeper, a kind of pressure in the chest. The same weight one feels near the ocean or in a temple. It smells of sweat, dust, cheap perfume, and blood, though nothing has yet been spilled today. You climb the inner steps, narrow and curved, until you reach Tier 3. And then you step out from the darkness, sin to blinding sun. The arena unveiled, the amphitheater erupts around you. Rows and rows and rows of people, rich and poor, noble and commoner, all gathered in a perfect circle. Each man, woman, and child is part of a greater spectacle, the human appetite for wonder. But your eyes are drawn to the arena floor. It's not dirt, not really. It's a mix of fine sand, imported from Egypt, dyed slightly red so blood will blend in. Beneath it, hidden by trapdoors and levers, lie cages, pulleys, and machines. The stage is set, and you find your seat. You sit. The marble is hot already. You look to your rattan old man in a faded toga. You look to your left, a woman in braided hair, her son clutching her arm. And then the horns blare. The emperor arrives, 3 long, mournful notes from curved Roman horns. People stand. You do too. Far above, on the shaded terrace, the emperor himself appears. It is Titus, the son of Vespasian, young, golden-robed, smiling faintly. He lifts his hand. The people cheer. You cheer too, because to not cheer is to be watched, judged, possibly more. Then, just as suddenly, he sits, and so do you. The games begin. The morning spectacle. The hunt first come, the beasts. Gates clatter open beneath the floor. The sand shifts. A rumble vibrates through the marble. Then a lion, massive and golden, bursts into the arena. Its eyes glow amber, and it roars so deeply it shakes your bones. More follow, a leopard, a bear, even an elephant, then the hunters. Dressed in leather, armed with spears and nets, they circle, they move, the dance begins. You lean forward, the lion lunges. A man dodges, the crowd gasps. The elephant trumpets in confusion. Blood is spilled, fast, red, brutal. The arena devours it all, and you can't look away. Intermission, bread, wine, and fear. After the morning hunt, there is a pause. Vendors move through the aisles, offering bread soaked in honey, olives from Hispania, figs so ripe they drip, and clay cups of red wine. You take one, you drink, and yet your hands shake. A man behind you is laughing loudly, too loudly. He saw someone be gored and laughed. You begin to realize something strange. You are not here just to be entertained. You are here to be reminded. Reminded of Rome's power. Reminded of your place. Reminded that this empire is fed by blood and you are lucky to sit above it. Somewhere beneath the arena floor, gladiators are rising. Not all of them will walk away. The sand has been raked smooth again, but not clean. Dried blood remains like faint rust on iron. Then, through the gates, they appear. One wears a helmet with a narrow slit and carries a curved Sicca blade. You catch one, Cassianus. The Murmillo raises his fist. You feel the man beside you tense. His eyes shine not with fear, but with gambling instinct. He has bet a week's wages on this fight. Steel against flesh, a silence falls. The trumpet blares once, then fades, and suddenly it begins. They circle. Blades clash. The crowd is immediately alive. Women gasp, men shout, children lean forward with wide eyes. Instead, they cheer. you begin to understand something darker. This crowd doesn't watch for victory or defeat. They watch for the moment of death. The Murmillo lifts his gladius. The Thracian falls, clutching his wound, trying to crawl backward. But his leg is caught in his fallen net. He raises one trembling hand toward the podium, the Emperor. The arena falls silent again. This is the ritual. Your breath catches. Will he live? Or, the thumb decides, all eyes are on Emperor Titus. He leans forward. He gazes not at the man but at the mood, the moment, the tide of the people. They shout, "Kill him, spare him." The Emperor waits. Then slowly, he raises his hand and turns his thumb down. It's over. The Murmillo nods once. Duty. No hesitation. He steps forward, drives his sword into the fallen man's chest. Deep, fast, practiced. The Thracian shudders once, then lies still. The crowd erupts. You feel your own heart pounding. The wine in your stomach churns. You've just seen someone die. And tomorrow, the memory will haunt you. But today, in the heat of Rome, in the Colosseum, surrounded by thousands, you do nothing. You sit and you watch. Between blood and theater, after the kill, the attendants rush in, men in tunics stained red, dragging away the body with practiced indifference. They rake the sand, scatter fresh sawdust. Within minutes, it's as if nothing ever happened. But your mind doesn't forget. You look up at the Emperor's box. He is already sipping wine, laughing at something whispered in his ear. You look at the old man beside you. He's asleep, mouth open. You look at the woman to your left. She dabs her son's face with a cloth. The child is smiling, and you wonder, are you the only one who felt it? That strange tug of guilt. That glimpse of a world where life is just a performance and the arena is its stage. Twilight and tricks. As the afternoon fades into golden hues, the final act begins. It's not just blood today, it's myth, magic, mockery. Performers flood the arena, men dressed as centaurs, others costumed as Medusa or Hercules. Painted backdrops descend from hidden pulleys. The stage transforms. The crowd shifts again from wild to amused. This is Roman theater, soaked in spectacle and shadow. The show is stylized violence, mock naval battles, recreated with hidden water tanks, men pretending to drown, chariots racing in tight circles. Even a tame crocodile is brought out roped and silent. The crowd laughs. It's not real, not this time, but your mind. It can't forget what was real, that sword, that death. You lean back against the marble, your body aching from the heat, your ears ringing from the constant shouts. The closing bell as dusk bleeds into night. Torches are lit along the upper tiers. Smoke rises in slow spirals. The Emperor stands once more. The crowd roars again, though more tiredly now. He waves, he leaves, and with him the magic dissolves. People rise, stretch, yawn. Vendors collect their coins. Soldiers clear the stairways. Blood dries below. You stand too. Your knees ache. You descend the stone steps slowly. Every surface seems more ancient now, every pillar heavier. You exit through the arched gates, stepping back into the city of Rome, but it's not the same city as before, because you are not the same. The walk home, the sky is violet now. You walk in silence, past rows of statues. The wind is cooler. You pass a fountain and hear only the sound of water. You think of the Thracian, his eyes, the way he held out his hand. You think of the cheers and of yourself. You didn't look away. No one did. Night in Rome, back in your chamber. You remove your sandals, loosen your tunic, and lie down on your mat. Your ears still ring, but Rome is quiet now. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barks, an owl calls. You stare at the ceiling. The plaster has cracked in one corner. You watch it until sleep takes you, and in your dreams the Colosseum rises again. But this time you're not in the seats, you're in the sand. Beneath the arena the morning after is heavy. Rome wakes slowly. The streets are quieter today, almost as if the entire city still hears the echo of yesterday's roar. You rise, rub sleep from your eyes, and stare at your hands. They still remember the feel of the marble rail, the sound of that sword, the final breath. But life in Rome doesn't stop. You pull on your tunic, fasten the belt, splash water on your face. Outside, the air carries a dry scent dust, sweat, bread baking. Somewhere down the street, a woman sings as she washes linen in a basin. Children run past, chasing a carved wooden hoop, laughing, unaware of the blood that stained the sand just a day before. But your mind, it is not in the street. It's beneath it. Because today, by chance or perhaps fate, you've been summoned for work inside the Colosseum's substructures. You've never seen what lies beneath the arena, but today you will. The Gate of Shadows, the lower entrance, is not where the crowds enter. It is hidden behind the Colosseum's western flank, beyond the arches where vendors stack empty amphorae and slaves dump refuse. A narrow corridor leads inward, half carved from stone, half lined with flaking plaster. You're led by a man named Servius, a grizzled worker with rope-thick arms and a voice like broken gravel. He carries a torch, even though daylight seeps through cracks above. This way, he mutters, and down you go. The air cools instantly. From sun-soaked marble to damp stone and shadow, you pass wooden beams, iron gears, and stacks of ropes coiled like snakes. The floor becomes uneven, muddy in places. You hear water dripping. You're beneath the grandest arena in the world, and it smells of rot. The bones of the beast. The first chamber is wide and circular, with an opening in the Centaura lift shaft. Servius points. That's where the lion came up yesterday. Fell asleep on the platform. Bastard wouldn't move. You stare into the shaft. It's deep, black. You imagine the moment. The gate opens. The beast rises into sunlight. Blinded by the roar of 40,000. Confused, terrified. This place is alive. You follow. You pass cages, some open, some barred with thick wood and bronze. The straw inside is matted with fur droppings, and in one case, blood. Flies buzz thick around a corner. A large door creaks open. Behind it is a dead elephant calf, half-skinned. The stench is unbearable. Died before the fight, Servius says. Didn't matter. They wheeled it out anyway. No one noticed. You press your tunic to your face. You want to leave, but you can't, because this is Rome's backstage. This is where the show is made. Machines of death. Further in, you see what few citizens ever do. Giant wooden winches, bronze levers, slotted gears. Slaves work in silence, their bodies glistening with sweat. Even in the cool dark, they hoist counterweights, test trapdoors, oil joints with animal fat. One man slips. A gear catches his arm. A scream. Blood splashes the stone. No one reacts. You stand, frozen. The overseer lashes the injured man with a rod, not for pain, but for rhythm. The machine must keep turning. The next fight is tomorrow. Rome waits for no man, especially not the ones beneath her. You were in the seats yesterday. You nod. He smiles, faintly. You saw the Thracian, Cassius. You hesitate. I did. He lowers his eyes. He was my brother. Silence. The torch crackles. He didn't cry, Paula says. Not once. Even when they chained him up. Even when they dressed him like a joke for the crowd. You don't know what to say, so you say nothing. Paulus reaches into his tunic and pulls out a carved wooden figurina, small gladiator, one arm missing. I carved it before his first fight. He said I should keep it. I've never watched, not once. I hear the crowd, and You take the figurine, hold it, feel its weight, and in that moment, the Colosseum feels heavier than marble, heavier than empire. It feels like sorrow carved in stone. Thunder in the tunnels, a sudden boom above. The sound of carts unloading. Workers shout. A wooden lift creaks downward. New beasts arrive. 3 cages. It hisses as you approach. Another holds a man, a prisoner. He clutches the bars, stares at you, not with hate, with resignation. No words, just eyes. And you realize, tomorrow, he'll be the one rising through the trap door. The crowd will scream, and he will fall. You turn away. You don't want to see his face, but it's already etched in your mind. He opens a wooden door, barely taller than a child. Inside is a shrine, not to Jupiter, not to Mars, but to Nemesis, the goddess of fate and retribution. Tiny lamps flicker. Offerings sit on a flat stone slab. Fruit, coins, a lock of hair, a child's doll. They come here before the fight, Servius says, to pray. Even the best ones. You kneel. You don't know why. You whisper a name. You don't say it aloud, but it's there, in your heart. Cassius, and all the others. By sunset, the halls grow darker. Torches flicker lower as the smell of oil and smoke mixes with the stale breath of the stone. You've been underground all day, and now your skin smells like damp limestone, like blood, like sorrow. Above, you can hear music now, flute and drum echoing faintly through the floors, some sort of rehearsal for tomorrow's spectacle. Servius hands you a jug of watered wine and sits beside you on a worn bench made of splintered oak. He looks tired, not from the work, but from the years, the weight of what he's seen here. You know what the Colosseum really is, he asks, eyes unfocused. It's not an arena, it's a memory machine. Rome pours its fears into it, its anger, its hunger, and then it forgets. You drink, not because you're thirsty, but because you need to fill the silence. You wonder how many men have died here. How many women watched their husbands vanish behind wooden gates? How many mothers prayed in secret, knowing their sons were buried beneath this floor? And you realize, Rome forgets nothing. It only builds taller walls to keep the truth quiet. Marks on the stone. Before you leave, you follow a corridor Servius warns against, but curiosity has you now. There, in the farthest chamber, where even torchlight dims, you find a wall marked with carvings. Hundreds, maybe thousands. Names, scratched in with bone, nails, metal. Names of gladiators, names of lovers, names of slaves. There's a drawing, two hands locked together. Below it, the words together, even after the sand. You reach out and trace it with your fingers. The stone is cold, but the mark is still warm in spirit. You suddenly feel you shouldn't be here, not just because it's forbidden, but because it feels sacred. You step back, then slowly turn and walk away. exit from below. You and Servius exit into the last golden light of the day. The Colosseum looms behind you now, not a marvel, not a wonder, but a beast, one that feeds on flesh, memory, and spectacle. You feel changed, like something was left behind in those tunnels. Not just your sweat, maybe your soul. The crowd tomorrow will not know what you've seen. They will eat their olives, drink their wine, and laugh when the bear dances or the man screams. But you will know. You will always know what lies beneath. That night, you walk through the forum in silence, past torchlit columns, past laughing couples, past a girl selling violets near a public fountain. Your house feels smaller, your mat feels colder, the walls seem to lean in. You lie awake long after the lamps have burned out, staring into the darkness, not with fear, but with awareness, because you've seen the other side of Rome, the side without marble, or speeches, or laurel wreaths. You've seen the wood and stone that holds the whole lie together. And though no one else will ever ask, you'll always carry the answer. Dreams of sand that night. You dream, but not of lions or swords. You dream of voices, of names, of the scratching of bone on stone. You see the trapdoors again, but they don't open this time. They just sit there, waiting, as if they know that one day they'll open for you too. The morning greets you, not with sunlight, but with drums echoing through the narrow streets. At first, they sound distant, like a heartbeat beneath the earth. But as you sit upright, rubbing the sleep from your eyes, you realize they're getting closer, much closer. Outside your small window, Rome is already alive. The streets buzz with excitement, not like yesterday, but louder, bolder, tinged with something heavier than joy. Today is not an ordinary day of games. Today is the final of a long festival week. The amphitheater will be packed to its teeth, and the blood spilled today will not be forgotten quickly. You dress without thought. The tunic that once felt crisp now carries a faint, earthy scent from your time below the Colosseum. You tighten your belt, fasten your sandals, and step out into the stone alley. Swallowed by the sound of the city vendors are out early, their carts heavy with figs, cheese wrapped in olive leaves, amphorae filled with spiced wine. There's laughter, chatter, the clink of coins and blades. Roman soldiers patrol in pairs, not for show today, but to control the crowds. Even the birds seem louder in the sky. You make your way toward the Colosseum, but your steps are slower than before. Yesterday's visit to the underbelly lingers in your bones. The blood that dries beneath the arena isn't easily forgotten, nor are the eyes of the man in the cage, the one who never spoke as you cross beneath the arches. A young boy offers you a small wooden token carved into the shape of a lion. You don't ask the price. You take it, give him a coin, and hold it in your palm, a symbol, a memory. Inside, the Colosseum is more alive than ever. The voices merge into one ocean of sound. You find your seat again. Tier 3, Moon Section, Seat 45. The same marble, the same heat, but the air feels different today. Something will happen, you can feel it in your teeth. The crowd hungers below you. The arena floor is already being raked. Fresh sand is poured from large wicker baskets. Workers move quickly, their tunics sticking to their backs. A few of them glance toward the crowd nervously. Trumpets sound. The emperor arrives, flanked by nobles and priestesses. His robe is longer today, more embroidered. his face unreadable behind layers of painted calm. With one motion of his hand, the crowd roars to life. But today, the games begin not with animals or comedy. Today, it begins with death. 4 prisoners are brought out in chains, their arms bound, their backs straight. They are dressed in plain white linen, no armor, no weapons. The arena gates close behind them with a heavy slam. The guards withdraw, then the gates opposite open. From the shadowed hallway, 2 lions emerge. They are lean, hungry, and silent. The crowd hushes. The lions do not run. They walk slowly, as if knowing exactly what is expected of them. One of the prisoners screams. The others do not. They stand still, trembling, their eyes searching for mercy in a place built to kill. The attack is sudden. 1 lion pounces. The body collapses. Blood sprays across the sand. A woman near you gasps but doesn't look away. The second prisoner runs. The lion follows. The chase is brief. You don't watch the third and fourth. You look at your hands instead, at your sandals, at anything else but your ears. Still hear everything when the gates open again, and the lions are lured away with slabs of bleeding meat. Only silence remains in the stands. No one cheers, not this time. The next event is meant to lift the air again. Archers enter the arena from all sides, dressed in red, with golden helmets and green feathers rising from the top. They stand in a perfect circle, each facing outward. In the center of the arena stands a large, spinning wooden wheel. Attached to it, by wrist and ankle, is a man, blindfolded, bare-chested, his body already bruised. The wheel spins slowly at first, then faster. The emperor raises a finger, and one by one, the archers fire. Each arrow thuds into the wheel's wooden edge, just inches from flesh. The crowd starts to murmur. Are they missing on purpose? Is it skill or performance? Then, one arrow lands too close. A scream, blood. The archers freeze. The emperor stands, but he doesn't scold. He doesn't frown. He smiles. A second arrow is fired. Then another, closer. Deliberate. The man on the wheel is crying now. This is no longer about aim. This is a punishment in disguise. You wonder what crime he committed. You wonder if he regrets it more now than ever before. The wheel finally slows, then stops. The man is still alive. Barely. The crowd applauds, not for him, but for the thrill. Later in the afternoon, the sand is cleared, and a new scene is set. 2 elephants are led in from opposite sides, their backs carrying small wooden towers. Inside each tower are 4 soldiers with long spears and round shields, painted with the crest of old Carthage. Today's game is a reenactment. The Battle of Zama, Rome's victory over Hannibal, but the outcome is known. It's not about truth, it's about pride. The elephants are goaded forward. The men atop them shout and wave their spears. Drums beat loudly, creating rhythm and urgency. The crowd shouts slogans, old war chants. Beneath one of the towers, a wheel splinters. The elephant stumbles. The men fall. One breaks his neck on the sand. The other 3 are trampled before they can rise. The crowd goes wild. The other elephant is guided into a mock charge, its tusks wrapped in bronze. A fake enemy line breaks and runs. The tower stands tall. Rome wins again. No one speaks of the man whose skull cracked like pottery, because here, death is not interruption. It is the thread that holds the performance together. During a short break, an old man seated behind you leans forward. He has silver in his beard, but his eyes are young. There's a scroll in his lap, and a wax tablet in his hand. You write. He asks you nod, then write this. Write that Rome is a city that forgets how to weep, that she builds marble teeth to smile through blood, that our gods no longer listen, only our crowds. You don't reply, you know he's not asking for agreement. He's asking for someone to carry his words beyond this place. The man sits back and closes his eyes. He does not clap when the next match begins. The next bout erupts with sudden violence. The murmelo, heavier and helmeted, roars in frustration as he stumbles backward, blinded by dust and laughter from the crowd. Your heart stutters. You can smell the blood before it falls. There's a rhythm to it all now, like breathing. Cheers rise, not for the victor, but for the struggle itself, for the illusion of war, clean and contained. A trumpet sounds, not to signal the end, but the entrance of something else. Wooden gates creak open beneath the floor. You expect lions. You get silence. From the darkness emerges a man. He is not armored. He wears only chains. The crowd hushes. This is no match. It's a message. The prisoner is no criminal. His body is lean and marked with lashes, but his posture is upright. He is made to walk alone, a canvas for fear. The announcer declares his crime treason, but you know what that means. He spoke against the emperor. He wrote to Eromo Profor. For a moment, the philosopher behind you opens one eye. Words are more dangerous than swords, he says. The prisoner is bound to a post. A lion, after all, does emerge. It is hungry, golden, slow. The crowd rises to its feet, but you remain seated. You watch the man, not the beast. He does not scream. He does not run. Even as the lion approaches, he closes his eyes, like the philosopher did. The moment the lion pounces, a single voice screams in the distance, a woman's voice, sharp and ragged. Then all is drowned in the applause. When the dust settles, a slave rushes forward to drag what remains away. Another comes behind to rake the sand smooth, as if he was never there. The philosopher does not speak again. You realize this moment will never be written down in the official records, only remembered by those who chose to see. And now the games resume. The sun had passed its highest point, yet the heat within the amphitheater refused to relent. It pressed down like the weight of unseen gods, thick with the scent of sweat, blood, and scorched oil. The sand in the arena was no longer pale, it had turned rust-colored from the day's offerings. Every grain told a story, every footprint a fading mark of defiance or defeat. You sat still, unsure whether you belonged to the spectators or the condemned. The line between them blurred more with each passing hour. Two boys now entered the arena, not fighters, not slaves, but pages, barefoot and pale, with oversized tunics that flapped like sails. They scattered fresh rose petals from woven baskets across the trampled floor, not for reverence, but to mask the stench of blood. The petals fell like quiet prayers, futile, delicate, dying before they touched the earth. The audience applauded, not the gesture, but the promise of more violence to come. You wondered if anyone still noticed how quickly the petals turned red. A gate creaked open, and the next show began, not with a gladiator, but a parade. A reenactment, the announcer declared, of the conquest of Dacia. Wooden props rolled in mock siege towers, papier, emchur, mountains, and painted shields. Actors dressed as Roman soldiers paraded through, cheering in triumph as others dressed as Dacians stumbled behind in chains. They had smeared ash across their faces to mimic suffering, but some looked too familiar, their despair too real. Perhaps some were actual prisoners, thrown into this charade for the crowd's amusement. One of them stumbled a boy barely older than the pages. The crowd erupted in laughter as a mock centurion cracked him across the back with a stick. He didn't rise. Another lash. Still no movement. You could see the blood soaking through his costume. A final strike, and the boy slumped completely, his chain tugging another man down with him. The guards looked uncertain, awaiting instruction. The announcer faltered. For a fleeting second, the illusion broke. Then, from the Emperor's box, a single downward gesture, not death, not mercy, dismissal. Slaves entered and dragged the boy's limp body away. The parade resumed. Trumpets flared. The laughter returned. You felt a sickness bloom in your chest. It wasn't the violence, it was the forgetting. How quickly each moment dissolved, replaced by another spectacle, another scream. Rome had grown fat, not just on conquest, but on erasure. In the seats near you, a patrician woman turned to her companion and remarked on the boy's poor acting. Her perfume drowned the scent of death. She laughed, as though nothing had happened. You looked back toward the philosopher's seat, but it was empty now. He had left without sound, without notice. You felt his absence more than his presence. That wax tablet in his lap, those words, had he written them, or merely carried them for someone else? You realized then how fragile memory could be in a city that devours its own stories. A deep drumbeat echoed. The crowd hushed again. This time it wasn't a game or a pageant. This was different. A thick wooden door opened at the far end of the arena, and out walked a pair of men unlike any you had seen before. They were not Roman. Their bodies were tall, wiry, their skin darker, their movements deliberate. They wore only loincloths, their wrists shackled, but their eyes, yes, their eyes held no fear, only fire. The announcer's voice trembled as he introduced them. Tribesmen from Nubia, captured in a recent expedition far down the Nile. The details didn't matter to the crowd. What mattered was the promise of exotic defiance, of something new. A pair of gladiators emerged opposite them, seasoned men in full armor, blades gleaming, visors down. A battle of civilization versus savagery, the announcer proclaimed. But when the horn blew, it was not the armored men who charged. The Nubians moved with such speed it stunned the audience. One dropped low, sweeping the legs of his opponent with a move more dancer than warrior. The other leaped upon the second gladiator's back, wresting the helmet free and slamming it into his skull before he could react. Gasps rippled through the stands. No one had expected them to fight with such precision, such unity. For a moment, it looked as if they might win, but then, from behind, a third Roman gladiator entered the arena, surprise, unauthorized. He stabbed one Nubian in the spine before the officials could stop him. The crowd erupted in confused noise. Was it planned? Was this part of the spectacle? The other Nubian turned, roaring, lifting the limp body of his fallen brother and charging the interloper. But it was too late. A trident pierced his stomach mid-sprint. Silence fell like a curtain. The crowd didn't cheer this time. Even they could sense the line had been crossed. Not a contest, not a punishment, but a betrayal. Blood had spilled before its time, before the rules allowed it. But in Rome, there were no true rules, only illusions of them. The officials said nothing. The announcer spun it as a glorious twist, a lesson in vigilance, a warning to foreign pride. You saw the bodies dragged away like debris, and still the drums played on. Now came the animals, a parade of chained beasts, one after another. Leopards, bears, a giraffe for novelty, its head swaying confusedly as the crowd laughed. Elephants brought in towers of archers for the next staged battle. You watched, numb, as one of the elephants refused to kneel. Its handler screamed and jabbed at it, but the beast remained still. Then it raised its trunk and let out a sound so mournful it quieted the nearest rose, a cry of confusion, of longing, of pain. The handler was ordered to make an example. He struck again. The elephant turned slowly, looked toward the emperor's box, and then collapsed, not from injury, but from surrender. It simply lay down and closed its eyes. The crowd didn't know what to do. Applaud, boo. It wasn't part of the script. The emperor, perhaps embarrassed, waved his hand. The show continued, as all shows must, but you could not look away from the sleeping giant, too massive to ignore, too proud to submit on command. That single act refusing to perform felt more defiant than all the blood spilled so far. Night crept into the edges of the sky, casting long shadows over the arena. Torches were lit. The final event was announced. A Venastio Nocturna night hunt. Gladiators with torches would chase wild animals through artificial forests set up across the arena floor. Painted trees, fake rocks, real teeth. The first creature released was a wolf, then another, then 6. They moved like phantoms, disappearing between prop trees, only to reappear suddenly, snarling and snapping. The hunters came behind them, emerald in leather and feathers, torches held high. It became a dance of flame and fang. Every time the wolves leaped, the fire scattered them, but they returned. Always they returned. One torch fell. A wolf seized it in its jaws and flung it into the trees. The prop forest caught fire with alarming speed. Panic rippled through the performers. The crowd cheered at first, thinking it was planned, but as the smoke rose, as screams grew real, the illusion melted. Slaves rushed in with buckets of sand. Officials shouted orders. Wolves escaped into corners of the arena, some leaping into the lower tiers before being speared midair. The fire was contained, but not before 2 gladiators lay charred on the ground, unmoving. The audience did not leave. They stayed, hungry for more, for something new, for the next trick. The blood had not been enough. The smoke had not been enough. You understood then that Rome's hunger had no limit. The empire itself was a performance, and every citizen an actor, pretending not to see the cost of the applause. As the final horn sounded and the crowd began to spill into the streets, you stayed behind a moment longer. The arena was nearly empty now. Servants raked the sand again. The marble teeth of the Colosseum smiled, as they always did. But beneath them, in the corners, in the cracks, lay the memories that refused to be swept away. And in your lap, the philosopher's wax tablet still rested, unwritten. You ran your fingers across it, and finally, you began to write. The sun now casts long slanting shadows over the Colosseum, and the light has softened from gold to amber. The air is heavier and closer to dusk, but the crowd remains insatiable. The scent of roasting meat still wafts from the vendor stalls, mingling with sweat and smoke, as if the arena itself is a great beast feeding on the senses of all who enter. You remain seated, your body still, but your mind alive with the pulse of what you have seen. Below, slaves sweep away the remnants of the last matchblood, bone, and broken armor, while the sand is raked fresh again. A kind of ritual, cleansing violence to prepare for more. A hush falls over the crowd as the next spectacle is unveiled. From a gate at the far end of the arena, A cage is wheeled forward. Inside it, pacing like a shadow with breath, is a lion. Its mane is streaked with age, its eyes black as onyx. The crowd leans forward. Opposite the lion's gate, another door swings open. A man, unarmed and dressed in the simple robes of a foreign mystic, is led into the arena by 2 guards. He walks with dignity, his hands tied, his posture upright. There is no panic in his eyes. Whispers ripple through the audience. A holy man from the East, condemned for refusing to acknowledge the divinity of the emperor. The lion is released. It takes a moment to register the space, sniffing the air, testing the sand. The man does not run. Instead, he kneels, eyes closed, lips moving in silent prayer. The beast circles him, confused by the lack of movement, unsettled by stillness. The crowd is restless. They crave fear, chase the scream. But the man remains calm. The lion roars, once, a sound that shakes your ribs, but it does not attack. It sniffs the man's shoulder, then retreats a few steps. The crowd begins to murmur disapproval. This is not the show they were promised. The beast turns again and pads back to its gate, refusing to play the part assigned. The guards re-enter and drag the man away. No blood has been spilled, but the tension remains thick in the air. The crowd is uneasy. They did not come for mercy. They came to witness the gods of Rome answer violence with theater. A horn blows sharply, interrupting their discomfort. A new procession begins. This time, a performance. Actors dressed as heroes and villains from myth take the stage. Masks of bronze and wood shimmer in the late sunlight. Their play reenacts the tale of Orpheus descending into the underworld to rescue his beloved Eurydice. It is beautifully choreographed, tragic, and tender. Real musicians accompany the drama, lyres plucking soft melodies as the story unfolds. But even in this gentler entertainment, blood is not far behind. When Orpheus looks back too soon, as the myth dictates, the actress playing Eurydice is seized by mock demons and torn from the stage in a scream so convincing that several children in the crowd cry. The line between drama and reality feels ever thinner. You wonder how many of the crowd truly remember which is which. Beside you, a woman in a deep red toga wipes a tear from her cheek, then turns to laugh at a joke her companion makes. Emotions are passed like wine, quickly and without thought. The man beside her adjusts his laurel wreath and shouts for wine. Below, the actors bow. The curtain of smoke from incense and dust begins to blur the outlines of the arena. The afternoon wanes, but the appetite for spectacle does not. A trumpet sounds, sharper than before. Something different is coming. Something larger. From beneath the Colosseum, platforms are rising. You can hear the clanking of gears, the groan of ancient pulleys. Slowly, an artificial forest emerges from the ground. Trees of painted wood and silk leaves, arranged to mimic a distant wilderness. The arena has transformed into a foreign land. The illusion is powerful. Even the sand has been dampened to resemble soil. Then, from opposite ends, two groups emerge. On one side, armored men dressed as Roman hunters. On the other, captured tribesmen from the north, painted with ash and wearing furs, their eyes wary. This is no fight of equals. The hunters have spears, nets, even trained dogs. The tribesmen have clubs and instinct. Still, they stand tall. There is a moment of silence just before the horn. Then the chaos begins. the forest becomes a battleground. The tribesmen dart between trees, using the mock forest as cover. The hunters spread out, flanking, forcing movement. Dogs bark and leap. Spears are thrown. A man falls. Another swings wildly. One hunter is dragged down, screaming. The crowd roars. This is what they came for. This is Rome's theater. You watch, not as a spectator now, but as a witness. You feel the line in your mind moving again, that shifting space between performance and punishment. Blood on the leaves, not silk. A boy, no older than 16, is cornered. He does not beg. He swings his club, catches a dog on the jaw. A hunter lunges. The boy falls. The crowd cheers. You close your eyes. When you open them, the forest is burning. The final act of this spectacle. Torches thrown onto the wooden trees. Controlled fire, perhaps, but the flames leap with joy. The tribesmen lie motionless. The hunters raise their arms in victory. The crowd is ecstatic. Ash floats upward like dark confetti. And still, the day is not done. You feel the weight of it now. The city's hunger. Rome devours. Not just food and wine, not just enemies and rebels. It devours stories, people, dignity, even memory. The man beside you hands his child a roasted chestnut, smiling as if none of this ever happened. Below, the fire is doused. The arena reset. You wonder how many more resets it has left. A senator in fine white robes stands to address the crowd. His voice is amplified by hidden pipes. He praises the bravery of the performers, the glory of Rome, the divine favor that keeps her safe. The crowd listens with reverence. You know the speech. You've heard versions of it before. Every era has its orators. Every empire its applause. As the sun finally slips below the upper rim of the Colosseum, casting the seats in long purple shadows, the last match is announced. A duel between two famed gladiators, both undefeated, both legends. The crowd surges with excitement. Wagers are shouted, names chanted, flags waved. You can feel the collective heartbeat rising. This is what they have been waiting for. From the eastern gate strides a tall man with dark skin and golden armor. His name is Bellator, and he raises a sword etched with the names of all he has defeated. From the western gate comes a woman, surprisingly small, wearing leather armor and wielding two short blades. She is called Vesta, and she is quicker than the eye. They meet in the center. They do not bow. There is no salute, only stillness, then movement, a blur of motion, the clash of steel, the hiss of breath. They circle, strike, parry, leap, roll. The fight is beautiful, precise, deadly. The crowd gasps as blades miss by inches, as sand kicks into eyes, as feints turn into attacks. Bellator roars and drives forward. Vesta twists and spins under his arm. Her blade cuts his thigh. Blood. He stumbles, regains footing. They pause, breathe, reset. Then again, steel sings. Vesta moves like flame, fast and unpredictable. Bellator endures like iron, his strength against her speed. They both know this is more than a fight. It is a myth being written in the language of muscle and breath. You forget to blink. The final blow comes like a whisper. Vesta ducks low, slides behind him, and presses her blade to his neck. He freezes, she holds. The crowd is silent. A decision must be made. She looks to the Emperor's box. The Emperor, cloaked in shadow, raises his hand. It hovers, then falls. Mercy, Bellator lives. The crowd erupts. Joy, relief, disappointment, a dozen emotions at once. The fighters part with a nod. The sand is stained but not soaked. It is a rare ending, a human one. As you rise to leave, the sky above is streaked with stars. The Colosseum begins to empty, though its spirit remains loud. You walk slowly, surrounded by echoes. Somewhere behind you, the philosopher may still be seated, or perhaps he has gone. You do not know. But his words follow you out of the arena. Rome is a city that forgets how to weep. Tonight, it remembered. Briefly, you step into the night, unsure whether the chill is from the air or from everything you have seen. Behind you, the gates of the Colosseum close again, but you know they will open. The air shifts again as a new roar surges through the Colosseum. A different kind of match is about to begin. The murmurs in the crowd swell into whispers, then whistles. You notice the tone change in the announcer's voice. It's something far more dangerous in the minds of Roman citizens. A criminal, and not just any criminal, but one who dared speak against the Senate. He's paraded into the arena like an animal, shackled, bloodied, and half-dressed, with insults hurled at him from every tier. You don't know his name, but the crowd knows his offense. Blasphemy, sedition, perhaps both. It doesn't matter to the people now. They didn't come for the truth. They came for the punishment. Across the arena, a contraption begins to rise from beneath the trapdoor. A wooden frame with iron teeth, rigged to a mechanism of ropes and pulleys. It looks like a cross between a tortured device and a stage prop. The man is dragged toward it as a squad of guards pulls the ropes taut. An announcer in a purple sash shouts the charges, though his voice is nearly drowned out by the noise. You catch a few words: corruption, treason, unholy speech, but they don't explain the real reason. This is theater, a performance wrapped in justice. The man doesn't plead. He simply looks up at the sky, perhaps to say farewell to a god he no longer trusts. Then the mechanism jerks. The crowd gasps. Iron clamps snap forward. The man screams. Once, just once, then silence. The device is lowered again. The sand is washed with blood. Children clap. To your right, a group of Roman matrons trade commentary like gamblers. One says this punishment is too lenient. Another wishes to see the lions back. A third passes figs to her son, who has not looked away from the scene even once. This is not horror to him. This is tradition. You sense how deeply woven into the city this ritual is. Spectacle is a part of Roman breath. Suffering is the scent of empire. He might have added that it teaches its children through numbness. The matches continue. Another beast is released, this time a crocodile imported from Egypt. The announcer exaggerates its origin. He claims it was captured beside the pyramids during an expedition blessed by the emperor himself. The truth doesn't matter. The beast is slow and confused, sluggish on the hot sand. The fighters surrounding it are dressed like Nubian hunters, though their accents betray their Latin roots. It's all illusion, carefully curated to excite the senses. One of the fighters lunges forward and is caught by the creature's jaws. The crowd roars in surprise. The other fighters circle and jab, slashing the crocodile until it releases the limb. A healer runs to pull the injured man away. He may survive, though perhaps not as a fighter. He will be replaced quickly. There is no shortage of volunteers, orphans, slaves, or desperate men in Rome. Entertainment has a long line of applicants. As the sand is raked clean, you notice a new presence at the edge of the arena. A group of young patricians, faces painted for a festival, adorned in floral wreaths and translucent silk, are laughing as they bet on the next round. One of them barely 16 wagers his dagger, a jewel-encrusted heirloom. Another places his cousin's name on the line, as if it were a game. You realize how far removed they are from the consequences. To them, death is distant, symbolic, artistic. You look down at your own hands and remember the philosopher's words. Someone must carry the truth of this place. You wonder if that someone is you. A hush falls suddenly. Trumpets blare from the upper chambers. The emperor is arriving. He walks beneath a shaded canopy, flanked by guards and priests. The crowd stands. You stand with them. It's instinctive, not reverent. The emperor raises his hand and nods. He does not smile. His eyes scan the arena like a god judging the world he built. He sits. The games resume. The first contest under his gaze is unusual. 2 men blindfolded, chained at the waist, armed with curved daggers. They spin around one another like dancers, striking at air and shadows. The crowd laughs, then grows quiet as blood appears. One of the men drops. The other, confused, raises his weapon high, as if unsure whether he has won or been wounded himself. The emperor gestures indifferently. A guard finishes the victor swiftly. Balance is restored. No glory, only order. Near you, a boy drops his bread in shock. His mother doesn't notice. She's busy cheering. You feel a coldness at the base of your spine. It isn't the violence that disturbs you, it's the ease. The way the city digests death without a burp. You wonder if this place will ever truly fall. Perhaps not by sword, but by forgetting what life is. Another match begins. This time it's women, gladiatresses. Their armor is lighter, their moves faster. One is a former noblewoman, disgraced by scandal. The other was born a slave. They fight with a choreography that rivals any dance. The noblewoman wins. She does not gloat. She bows toward the emperor, then toward the crowd. You sense respect, perhaps regret. The defeated woman is carried out on a litter. There is no mockery for her. The crowd respects skill, no matter the body it lives in. As the sun begins to dip, the shadows of the arches stretch long across the arena. Lamps are lit, torches set ablaze. The games will continue into twilight. The scent of roasted meat mingles with that of blood and sand. Musicians begin to play somewhere near the upper tier. The Colosseum becomes a theater again, a masquerade, a blood opera. The next act is elaborate. A mock naval battle recreated in a flooded arena. Engineers have spent weeks preparing it. Slaves operate pulleys to open water channels. The sand disappears beneath shallow waves. 2 ships rise, painted in bright colors, manned by prisoners and performers. The announcer declares it a reenactment of a famous sea victory. You suspect it is mostly fiction, but it doesn't matter. The crowd loves it. Drums beat, oars slap, spears fly. One ship catches fire. The flames are real. The screams are half-acted. When the water is drained again, it leaves behind a muddy, red-stained basin. The announcer promises a final surprise. You brace yourself. 2 cages rise. Inside, 2 tigers reel, hungry, imported. But the twist is different. This time, no humans are sent in. Instead, a mechanical statue of a lion, forged in brass and gold, is pushed into the arena. The crowd watches, puzzled. The announcer proclaims it a gift from a foreign king, a marvel of engineering, a tribute to Roman greatness. The tigers, confused, sniff at the statue. Then the gears inside whir to life. The lion's head turns, its jaws open and emit a cloud of incense. The crowd gasps in awe, then cheers. It is not violence they crave, but astonishment. Anything that reminds them they are Rome. As the games end for the day, the crowd begins to disperse slowly, murmuring, laughing, reliving the best moments. You remain seated for a while. The sun has nearly set. The torches burn low. A silence begins to creep in as the arena empties. You rise, feeling the weight of what you've witnessed. A city drunk on spectacle. A people who teach their children to cheer for death. You walk slowly toward the exit tunnel, past the cages, past the ropes, past the pools of blood that still glisten in the torchlight. You pass a blind beggar humming a tune. You pass a young boy practicing his sword swings. You pass a priest sprinkling ashes on the ground. Rome continues. Rome consumes. You step out into the cool evening air. The Colosseum looms behind you, silent now, but not at rest. The air in the Colosseum shifts. It's subtle at first, the way a hush grows heavier than thunder, the way every throat forgets to breathe. You are no longer watching with mere eyes. You are witnessing something old and haunted rise again. The sun, now a tired gold, casts crooked shadows over stone seats and spectators. And in the pit below, the gates begin to groan open. Two figures emerge. But they do not wear the heavy armor of gladiators. No polished greaves, no bristling helms. One wears a prisoner's tunic, torn and dust-ridden. The other is draped in the black robes of a Roman executioner. And between them, silence sharpens like a blade. There's no trumpet, no flare of ceremony. The man in rags looks up not at the crowd, not at the emperor, but at the open sky above. His hands tremble, but his lips don't move. He doesn't pray. He doesn't cry. He stands still, like a ruin refusing to collapse. You lean forward. You don't know why, but something ancient in you is listening. The executioner lifts his hand, and everything pauses. Birds freeze mid-flight. Dust falls slower than time itself. Then the blade descends, but it stops halfway. The crowd gasps, not because of mercy boot confusion. The executioner drops the sword and takes a step back. The prisoner blinks like a man reborn. Whispers move through the arena like a secret wind. The emperor doesn't rise, but his hand clenches the armrest of his gilded chair. The executioner kneels. He lowers his hood, and the crowd erupts into disorder. You don't understand the language of this rebellion, but you feel it. It's not about a man spared. It's about the spell breaking. One drop of mercy in a sea of cruelty. One refusal to kill when the world demanded blood. One moment where Rome falters, not from weakness, but from conscience. And then the guards come. They rush in like a tide, crashing into the man who dropped the sword. The prisoner is dragged away not as an offering, but as a reminder. The emperor's hand rises. The crowd hushes. And the next show begins like nothing happened, but everything has changed, at least for you. You glance at the seat behind you, where the philosopher once sat, but he is gone. In his place lies the scroll he held. A message burned in wax reads, "If the arena forgets how to weep, let someone outside remember. You take it, you don't clap. The show goes on, but your heart isn't part of it anymore." You see the falseness in the cheers, the hollowness behind the gold. The Colosseum no longer roars, it echoes. And when the final match ends, and the sun begins to dip behind the Palatine Hill, you stand. Your legs ache. Your cloak is dusty. But you walk with purpose through the same gates where crowds push and spill. Through the alleyways now filled with song and spilled wine. But you are elsewhere in your mind. You carry with you the philosopher's words, the trembling prisoner's eyes, and the silence of one man who refused. You don't go back to your inn. You climb the hill overlooking the city. Rome lies below, marble and fire, blood and poetry. You take out your wax tablet. You begin to write, not with the hand of a spectator, but with the soul of someone awakened. You write about the crowd. You write about cruelty dressed as celebration. You write about a city that builds greatness on silence and a single voice that dared to say no. You don't know if anyone will ever read it, but you know this. You are not leaving the Colosseum behind. You are carrying it with you. Not its grandeur, but its ghosts. Not its spectacle, but its sins. And maybe that is how Rome will finally remember. Through the pen of a witness. A quiet soul who once sat beneath the blood-soaked sky and chose not to cheer. And with that final sentence carved into wax, you close the tablet, rise slowly, and take one last look at the city. The wind lifts your cloak. The stars are beginning to wake. And you walk forward, into history, into silence, into something that feels almost like peace. We hope you enjoyed the story. If this journey moved you even in the smallest way, consider subscribing to the channel and becoming part of our growing community of quiet thinkers and midnight dreamers. There's more to history than dates and names. There are stories like this, hidden in stone, whispered in ruins, waiting to be heard again. Stay with us, and until next time, let the past keep you company tonight.